Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So we're dealing with a couple of Quran ayats from Surat al-Baqarah. Seriously, got a real deep message within it. And I started to go through some different books of tafsir last night to pull from it. But I'm going to use the Quran ayat, but some of reality, like today's world that we live in, so that we can get a better understanding of it as we discuss this Quran ayat. And because I want to warn the people. So we know Ramadan is roughly 5 months away, right? So when Ramadan gets close, and I pay attention to this every year, 6 months going towards Ramadan, I start to pay attention to it, right? And I pay attention to a lot of things, and I try to look at everything through an Islamic eye, through the eyes of the deen, because Allah has really given us the answers for everything. So everything I look for, it reminds me of something from the deen, for the most part. And where Allah warned us, where Allah said this will happen if people be a certain way, from what the Rasul said how it was going to go. So every year I start to notice, about roughly 6 months, well, that's when I really pay attention. A lot of people, Muslims and non-Muslims, they start getting divorced. Right before Ramadan comes, people start getting divorced, right? And also, people start getting married. Because some people who've been alone, they want to be married for Ramadan. They don't want to be by themselves when Ramadan start. So I was looking at a podcast yesterday before work, and not a Muslim podcast, but some guys from New York. They got a little podcast called Bag Fuel, right? And they have different personalities. So they had like a conscious, dunya conscious type person. And, they was discussing like the problems in the world with, the way all the violence and, how the women is getting, how the men is getting. So marriage just came up. And one of the brothers said, for some reason, everybody I know is getting divorced. And then he said, I'm getting divorced. All my friends is getting divorced. Everybody I know that's married is getting divorced. Okay? So I pay attention to everything. Like I'm a person on my block, there's single women. And then next door, there's a few single women, right? And they don't talk to each other, they not friends, but they all got the exact same behavior when it comes to men. Now all this is relevant because I want to warn the brothers, Ramadan is coming. I want to warn the sisters too, but the brothers, Ramadan is coming, plus winter time is coming. And there's a lot of women that's in survival mode. Their survival mode isn't like our survival mode. Okay? Because we have different natures. Our survival mode is, okay, I'm out here in the cold. Let me build a house. Okay? Let me build some type of shelter where I can keep myself warm. Their survival mode is, I don't have the strength and energy and the know-how to cut this stuff and design something and build a place for warmth. Let me go get a man to build it for me. Or let me go find a man that has one built so that I can get in it and put my own little touch on it. This isn't no disrespect to them, but this is their nature. They're supposed to be the nurturers. We are the builders, the providers, the maintainers. So their mentality is, let me go find somebody to do it for me. Our mentality is, let's do it on, we're going to do this, I'm going to do this myself. I don't have nobody to ask but me. Or another male, can you come hold these boards? Can you come help me build this? Right? We're not saying this is every single case. Because some females have got tired of survival mode. And they start to do for themselves. The best way they know how. And you'll notice once they get to that point that I don't need anybody mentality comes out. I don't need you. I'm not going to tolerate anything. There's plenty of people that'll build a house for me. That mentality will be there. So I'm saying this because they out here, man. They out here. And Ramadan is coming, and some of them in survival mode, and they're looking for a place to land. I'm not saying this to disrespect them. And because like I'm saying, and when I read these Quran ayats, we're going to see exactly why this is. Allah give us the jewels for why this is. Male and female. Just like it's some dudes, they finna go into survival mode. But like I said, our survival mode is different than theirs. Okay? So, let's say like on my block, and by me getting off in the middle of the night, I arrive like home like during people sleeping hours. Right? So you will see, and like I said, there's a lot of single women on this block. So you will see I'm arriving during creeping hours. So you will see some of them who have a vehicle and their situation may be bad, like the electricity might be off, right? The water might be cut off or something like that, right? And this is just reality, because like I say, I'm out here. I hear what's going on when I be on my porch when I'm pulling up. You may see one of them leaving with a spin a night bag, right? Like, not trying to be funny. I'm not dissing them. But they leaving with a spin a night bag, and then one across the street may be coming home, getting dropped off with their spin a night bag. But then you will see as it transfer. 1 month, they getting dropped off with their spin a night bag with this person. Then the next month, it's a whole nother person, because they trying to find somewhere to land. You see what I'm saying? And seeing, but each guy don't know what they going through. I live on the street, so I see it. Like wallahi, even when I pull up to park, one of my neighbors had to spend a night in the backyard in the vehicle, and because whatever they can do in the house and what's going on, they be in the backyard. And sometimes whatever going on is what's going on. But wallahi, I've been watching this for like 3 years. Whatever they got going on, a person to pull up a good month or two, even in the wintertime, and they'll have somebody, they be spending the night in the backyard, man. And I'm, like I said, I'm not knocking them, I'm not dissing them, but they going into survival mode, man. And you will end up in a position where you will be all about her while she's all about hers. I need you to help me while I help myself get out of this hole that I done dug myself in. So they might get a little bit from this person, but it never really amounts to nothing to change. So then they end up to the next, or they'll be with one person and then trick another person out of money. It's just unfortunate, man. So I'm gonna read these Quran ayahs to see what's going on. And I'm saying because Ramadan is getting ready to start. So Shaitan is going to get extremely active. The Shayateens is going to get extremely active. And like I say, even when it comes to sin, just like me, I'm not a perfect person. I'm human just like everybody else. But one thing that kind of separate me from some of my counterparts is if I may fall into a sin, but I'm not going to live my life like that. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not going to be doing that for 2 months, 3 months. Nah, I'm not going to do that. No matter what the situation feel like, I'll break myself away from it. You see what I'm saying? If it's going to be like, no matter what the situation is, even whether it's chasing money or whatever, some people don't have that strength and they live their life like that. And then it's almost impossible for them to change when they come across somebody that don't live their life like that. And you're gonna have to pay attention, brothers, man, and listen, because they're gonna be trying to maneuver you. They're gonna try to manipulate you and pawn piece you, because this is their nature. You can build a house. You can do this. Build my house for me. This is their nature, whether they like you or not. So it's finna be a whole lot of it, man. And then you have people who've been single for a long time, brothers and sisters, and some of their desperation may kick in. I gotta hurry up. Wintertime is coming. I gotta make these moves. So you got to be careful, man. And I'm explaining this, but let me show y'all why in these Quran ayahs. So, and if anybody, you married and y'all having problems and different things, and there's a lot of little bickering and there's a lot of little who's the best manipulator. If I could manipulate her better, or if she could manipulate him better. Some relationships turn into a game of manipulation. Manipulation. You know what I'm saying? Like even when it boils down to this, like I remember a couple, man, that was going through a divorce, and I was trying to keep them married, right? And the wintertime was coming. So the sister was like, Wallahi, and this was many years ago. But the sister, one of her main concerns was, the wintertime is coming. Who's gonna pump my gas? I don't want to have to get out in the snow and cold and pump my gas. He always went and got my gas for me. So now, as they start to weigh in our choices to move on, the first person that seemed like they'll go pump her gas and get her gas in the wintertime is going to move higher up on the list. No matter what his behavior is, because she's all about hers. Although, it don't take nothing but a couple of minutes to go pump gas. You done lived a whole lifetime pumping your own gas. But now it's a choice between who's going to do these things. I'm spoiled by it. I'm used to it. And then when she bump into a person and he don't pump her gas, he ain't no good. See, he ain't no good man. Real men pump gas. You know what I'm saying? Manipulation, man. And see, you know, like I say, man, some brothers don't be aware of this type of behavior, man. And don't get me wrong, there's some brothers that be up to no good, no doubt. But women be prepared for a man to be no good. Men don't. Your mindset is, no matter what, she's going to be a good woman, and anything that's messed up about her, I can fix it because I'm a man. We fix things. I can fix her. But you can't, brother. You can't. You know what I'm saying? She don't even know how to fix herself. She knows she's broken but don't know how. And you be prepared to, like, she's automatically a good woman, this and that. And then you will get manipulated into that nurturing, because this is something, man, we used to having mothers and grandmothers. So we have a submit to the weakness that's within women in us, and they'll use it to manipulate you, man. And look, but let me show y'all where this come from. So in the Quran, Surah 2, ayat number 99. Indeed, we have sent down to you, O Prophet, clear revelations, clear wahi, right? But none will deny them except the rebellious. So when you see people denying certain aspects about the deen and certain Quran ayats or certain truths, even when it feel like the truth to them, and they denying it, if you pay attention close enough, you'll realize you dealing with a rebellious person. Allah telling us the only ones that do that is the rebellious people. And you will see more than just the deen. They rebelling against all type of everything that they can't control, that they can't manipulate and pawn piece the situation. Okay? Why is it that every time they make a covenant, a group of them cast it aside? So me and another person, we was having a discussion about why certain, we're going to use the term demographic, why a certain demographic of people can't get along, can't get together and build anything, right? And what I was saying is, if you pay attention to that particular demographic, no matter what type of religion that they feel like they accept, because the majority of them, because their fitra is so natural, they cling to some form of religion, whether it's Islam, whether it's the Nation of Islam, whether it's the Moorish Americans, whether it's the Hebrew Israelites, whether it's the Baptist, Catholic, whatever. What you will notice is, with this demographic, none of them follow their religion the way that they supposed to. They all manipulate it and pick and choose and even make up their own versions of it if their version isn't already made up. You see what I'm saying? So Allah is sitting up saying, posing as a question to the Rasul, because he's going to explain why are they like that when they make a covenant, like when they take a shahada, when they enter into being a Hebrew Israelite, when they enter into being the Nation of Islam or the Baptist church and get saved and dipped in water. When they enter into some form of a covenant that they think is with Allah, there's always a group of them that throw part of that religion behind their back. They cast it aside. I'm with this part, I'm not with this part. So it's giving you, showing you, they deny, they're rebellious, but they enter into forms of religion, even if it's man-made. And they, even when it's man-made, whether they become a Mason and join a fraternity, they cast bits and pieces of it aside. So, in fact, most of them, this is the rest of the ayat, they cast it aside, and here comes the answer. In fact, most of them don't even truly believe. Because if you truly believed, you're not going to throw part of it away just because it requires you to change. And that's usually when people have issues with things, because in religion, because it requires them to change. You can't eat pork. I don't want to change and give up pork, although it's healthy for them. I don't want to change and give up drinking. I don't want to change and give up smoking. See, I can't do that. I agree with everything else in that religion except for the eating pork. And I can't give up my pork. I can't give up these women. I can't give up the women. I can't give up these type of street men. That religion requires too much. So they cast bits and pieces of it aside. And this is when they go from committing a sin to living their life in sin. But then their heart can't connect to how Allah allowed them to pick their own poison. You choose how you're going to suffer for your disobedience. And then, just like it say, the pathway to Jannah, right? To the hellfire, the pathway to the hellfire is disguised with beauties and luxuries. But the pathway to Jannah, that road look like it's full of hardships and difficulties. So you will see what they're going to choose. But then their heart is not connecting to why this is turning into a punishment for them. Because now they done chose to live in sin as committing a sin and making tawbah from it. Right? So look at this. But Allah has given it to us. So look, it says, now when a messenger from Allah has come to them confirming their own scriptures, some of the people of the book cast the book of Allah behind their backs as if they didn't even know the book. So this is like the people who was around that was supposed to be about their religion and they was living however they wanted. Then the Rasul came, or after Musa, Isa came, right? Another prophet came confirming and telling them, no, your religion say you supposed to do this. And they became even more rebellious and threw the book behind their back like they never even knew it. Once they threw the book behind their back, what did they do? They replaced it with their own ways. They created bid'ah. They beautified it and cloaked it under, we're making it easier for the people. We're making this religion easier for ourselves. And then the original forms of that religion was lost. And now you're starting to see Muslims fall into the same thing. Because we going to follow them people inch by inch. Even if they was to crawl into the hole of a lizard, we'll crawl into the hole of a lizard right up behind them. Okay? So look at this right here. This is the part when it comes to the marriages and the friendships and the different things. Now look at this right here. So now we started at ayat number 99. We read 100, 101. Now we on 102. They, referring to these same people, and this is what happened. They instead of following the books, instead of following their deen, they instead follow the magic, okay, promoted by the devils during the reign of Solomon. So when this stuff started happening, the devils is the shaitan and the shayatins, and they're following basically trickery. It's not religion. This didn't come from Allah. Y'all following trickery, foolishness, batil, falsehood, a bunch of made up, man-made stuff that ties into your desire. So look what it say. Never did Solomon disbelieve. Rather the shayatins from amongst mankind, the jinn, and the shaitan shayatins, they was the ones that disbelieved. So they taught this trickery, this magic to the people, along with what had been revealed to two angels, Harut and Marut, in Babylon. Okay? The two angels never taught anyone without saying, We are only a test for you. We'll teach you this, right? But don't fall into wrongdoing with it. We only a test for you. So do not abandon your iman. Do not abandon your religion. Do not abandon your faith. We're only a test. Don't abandon your deen, right? Yet, people learned the magic that caused a rift even between a husband and a wife. Not just friendships, not just business partners, not just brother and sister, brother and brother, sister and sister, mother and child, child and father, aunties, uncles, grandparents and grandchildren. Not only just the rift between these siblings and friends and constituents, people in the masjid even between a husband and wife. Two people that's supposed to be building a life together that leads them to Jannah, as opposed to building a life together that leads them to the hellfire, because they done fell into the trickery. They done fell into this form of, in English, these words that we'll use called magic. So look at this. Although their magic could not harm anyone except by the will of Allah. So if Allah allowed you to be affected by this magic, for you to be affected by this trickery, and a rift is caused between a husband and wife, if Allah allowed it, then there's a couple of things. Either there was some wrongdoing and this became a punishment for y'all, right? Or it's a test. Who's going to be foolish enough, because this magic is stepping in, who's going to be foolish enough to walk away and mess this up? And then you will notice they'll walk away and end up in a far worse situation, man. They'll end up in situations even further away from their deen, even if they call themselves Christianity. You see two Christians who was together and they was going to church and they was doing their thing, and then they was tricked up out of their marriage. One of the first things that the male and the female do, one of the first things they do is hit the streets. It's hit the streets. Sex first, relationship second. They finna go out there and hump somebody, male and female, into their whims and desires. And if they follow them, Allah tells us about the ones who follow their whims and desires. But a lot of this is coming from the shaitans and the shayateens that did this magic and started practicing it and perfecting it during the times of Solomon. So this has been going on for many years, alongside with the people who learned this from the angels. And these practices have been passed on. One of the first things when people meet somebody new, and then they really like them, and they really want to be with them, one of the first things that happen is when they tell somebody else, they instantly try to manipulate them out of that situation. Oh, what if he's a serial killer? What if he's a private baby toucher? What if he's this? They automatically start planting seeds in their head, especially when they still in the streets. No. You belong out here in these streets with us. So through the door, as soon as they hear a name, they start trying to cause rifts. This is something that came down during the time of Solomon. And it's still going on to this day. And then it'll keep on going and it'll keep on going until the Shayateens can break up these people's marriage and get a pat on the back from Shaitan. They can get that crown and Shaitan pat them on the back and say, you did good. Especially when they succeed at doing this to some Muslims. And then some people, unfortunately, because people be in survival mode, male and female, because people be trauma bonding, they'll come together on circumstances where material growth can be manifested, which isn't the true success in what? In Islam. That's not the true success in Islam. They start feeling themselves and start feeling like they're a power couple. Because depending on how they met each other during that trauma, and like I said, their women's survival mode isn't like men's survival mode. Now don't get me wrong, you have some men's survival mode that's like women because they didn't have a father around. Their father got killed or was in prison forever, and they probably didn't have no uncles. Or they had one uncle. It might have been one guy who grew up with like 8 sisters and a mother and no father. So he feminine. And he's a man, but he's feminine and emotional in emotions. So some of them have survival mode like women. They'll hop from female. Some people call it a hobosexual. They sleep their way into situations. They got to go find some sister with low self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? Not no knock to them, because some of them sisters with high self-esteem, but it's still low at the same time, they deserve somebody with Floyd Mayweather money. They deserve somebody with P. Diddy money. No matter how raggedy they act, no matter how their attitude is, because this internet made everybody, it gives everybody access to everybody that they know. See, before, back in the day, you had to run into somebody at the club. You had to run into somebody at a gas station or a store and exchange numbers. Now you could just go find them on Facebook, social media, and Instagram. And because some of these sisters might have 10, 15 men that can DM them, and then their mindset, because they've been in survival mode so long and they done went through a gang of things when they was younger, they mind programmed these people only want sex from me. So in order to get that sex, I'm going to get everything that I can out of them. See, they thinking they getting some out of me, but I'm really going to get most out of them because they've got to the point where their body doesn't mean anything to them anymore. This is how they work men. They're that dignity, that keeping their body parts sacred stuff, they lost that as a teenager. They lost that as a teenager, man. You see what I'm saying? They lost that as a teenager. And I'm not trying to knock them. I'm not trying to disrespect them. But this is how people end up in situations, and they shouldn't have never been married from the get-go. Or they marriage need to come with agreements. Look, this is what we're going to agree on. Like a Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith marriage. This is a marriage of circumstances. And we can be good together materialistically, but we'll be better with other people. And see, in Islam, this cramps that for the Muslims. Because they can just have they sucker and just go sleep with somebody else. The person they want to have sex with, they could just go have sex with him, and just like the same with him, he could just go have sex with her and then sit up around this child mother of his who's unbearable and do it for the kids. She could sit up around this guy who paying bills and doing all this other stuff who's unbearable and just go sleep with who they want to. But in Islam, you can't do that. So with all that mixed in, and like I said, I'm bringing it to our time, what's going on in our way of life, and we heading into 2026. 2026 is only a few months away. This behavior is going to increase. And what I'm telling y'all, wallahi, is nothing for me to get up in the morning, fajr, step outside or something, and see a woman getting dropped off with her spend a night bag and a woman coming home with her spend a night bag. With you know what I'm saying? 1 week, see somebody spend a night in the backyard with this person. You know, and in between that week, it might be somebody else. And like I said, I'm not knocking them, I'm not judging them, but all of these people don't know each other. But they all doing the exact same thing, just in a different way. Just in a different way. They looking for somewhere to land. And like I said, I'm not knocking them, I'm not making fun of them. What I'm saying is, Ramadan is getting ready to come. People get divorced and people get married. And I see a lot of people I seen last year, people get married right before Ramadan, a month before Ramadan, and didn't even make it to the first week of Ramadan. Okay. It's just a lot of variables, man. And I'm telling you, man, some people be emotionally erect, man. Because their nature is, you build this for me. Our nature is, let me get out here and build this. Now, when people are sincere and genuine, and these two natures come together, and it's unselfish, especially when it's up on the deen of Islam, they build a happy home. And they understand, we partners, we in this together. We in it to win it. And it could turn into a beautiful thing all around the board. But you got to know how to protect yourself from this magic. You gotta know how to, if you fall into particular sins for particular reasons, you already have to have a mindset, I'm not going to live like this. I'm not going to live like this. You see what I'm saying? Whether it's for relationships, whether it's to get money, whatever it is that you needed at that time. Make your tawbah, remember Allah, and be like, repent within that time frame. You understand what I'm saying? If you know you finna do it, Allah forgive me. I'm at my breaking point. I'm broke. I can't. My lights finna be cut off. My kids gonna be starving. Allah forgive me. You know what I'm saying? At least you care. Not just like, I ain't finna ask Allah to forgive me for what I'm doing, and then after I do it, I ain't finna make tawbah. I'm not finna give no zakat or no charity to try to get it off of me. This is normal life for me. This is normal life for me. And then what they end up doing, because it, male and female, because it done became a normal life for them, they'll just manipulate their speech depending on the person that they with. If they with a particular person that's a good person and they like them, then they got to make it seem like this is not what I do. I don't do this all the time. But they don't take it to Allah. I didn't just do this with the last sister. I didn't just do this with the sister before. And sometimes that really do be the case. But sometimes it don't. But if it's somebody who that's just how they live, they not going to hide that. They're not going to try to paint the picture like, okay, I know I'm doing wrong, but this is regular life for me. You're going to start to see a lot of this, man. May Allah protect us all from it. And this is why a lot of marriages don't last. And then you got to pay attention to your surroundings. You got to pay attention to the people that's in your life. Because these are the ones that's going to cause the rifts. These are the ones that's going to cause the rifts. Sometimes with females, it be due to jealousy. I don't want to see you happy. I don't want to see this. You not finna be sitting up living it out and I'm still out here in the streets. As long as you out here, you can't say nothing bad about me because you just as bad as me. We out here doing the exact same stuff. So they cause them rifts. But sometimes with men, it's not an intention to cause rifts. They may know your girl. They may see her out there with another person while you at work. So they genuinely telling you it's not because they want her, not because they jealous. Like, hey man, or she may have had a reputation, but she may have changed. But he don't know it. He just knows she have a reputation, so he might be like, hey man, you probably want to be a little careful, man. She did this to this one. She stole this from that one. It's not from a jealousy point, but she may be different. Their situation may be genuine, but due to him trying to advise the brother prematurely, based off of him knowing her and what she used to be, and if she's not that anymore, it might cause a rift. But generally, for the most part, unless it's like I said, some of these dudes who grew up with a bunch of sisters and or like a bitter a mother with those type of ways, so they just naturally pick some of it up and they be dirty macking. They might want her for themselves, can't get her, or they might feel like you can't deserve her, you don't deserve her, and they should be with them. So they're going to cause problems. And I'm telling y'all, this way in these forms, you have to understand, Allah Azza wa Jal is informing us that this is out here. So I'm finna close this off with a recap so that you get it. Allah sitting down the deen to us. Some people deny it because they're rebellious. Some people deny certain aspects of it because they're rebellious. It goes against how they want to live and what they want to do. And because of that, what they do is, although they enter into these covenants, although because they took their shahada, although because they believe Islam is the truth, they still throw certain parts of Islam aside. I'm going to keep celebrating birthdays. I'm going to keep going to this pagan stuff. I'm going to keep praying in the name of Jesus. I'm going to keep doing this. I don't care what Islam say. I know I'm good with Allah because I have dunya. If Allah wasn't pleased with me, I wouldn't have dunya. I wouldn't have pawn pieces and court jesters, and I wouldn't have these women to manipulate if Allah wasn't pleased with me. Okay? So they're going to throw parts of it aside. That's because they don't truly believe, or their belief is based off of some batil. All of this is the exact same thing, so it doesn't matter. And then sometimes people can mix common sense. Let me touch that, man. Let me touch that. You have individuals that can teach you the deen of Islam, how to practice it, how to implement it, what's batil, what shouldn't be there. And then you have individuals who can't teach you the religion, but they could talk to you about common sense stuff. Like, and that was one thing that I used to notice as a Muslim, and like when TV would be on, like on BET late at night, how church would come on. And what I started to notice was, these people can't teach their Bible, but they can sit down and say, if you save your money up, if you save up $100 this week, save up $100 that week, if you do that for a whole month, you have $400. And then the audience is, hey man, hallelujah. That's the truth though. But that's not teaching you how to be a Christian. So they'll mix that up, because that is the truth. If you save $100 up a week, you have $400 if you do it for a whole month. Yes, that is the truth, but that don't make Christianity the truth. So you will have some people who may be given a khutbah, and they may make a statement that like may wow the congregants in the masjid. Every time you step outside the masjid, there's a beer bottle that's broken. And the reason why these beer bottles is broken outside the masjid, because you Muslims that sell alcohol sold it to them. Which may not be true. That beer bottle may not have came from some Muslims that sell alcohol. But then it may have. So, but you may be wowed by this and that, but this same person can't really teach you how to practice Islam. So because he said some common sense stuff, but then you have to look at the character of the person. This might be your masjid. Why do you walk past that beer bottle every week? Why do you not care that it's broken beer bottles and alcohol bottles right by the doors and the steps of the masjid? And you, the imam, you own the building. Why you don't care? Why you won't sweep it up? Why you won't pick it up? What's going on with your iman? So, but because they may make a true statement, or they say something that's appear to be true, some people feel like that's learning Islam. And this is what's starting to happen, and I hope I didn't lose people with that. Some people can't teach you the religion. They just talk about common sense stuff. Don't go to the club. They might get to shooting there. Man, that was a powerful khutbah. Yeah, that is some good advice, but when it comes to teaching you how to avoid the magic that Harut and Marut taught, that the shaitans whisper and cause rifts between spouses, brothers, sisters, parents, Muslims. They can't give you them jewels. And then they keep hitting you with blanket stuff to where you learn a few common sense things that don't even apply to you. But you don't know your religion. And this is a problem, man. And this is why when you see the hadiths and things that come down in the Quran about the ways the religion should be practiced, is going to be lost. Religious knowledge is going to be lost through the death of learned men. And that's not just Islam. When you look at everything that Allah truly sent down, there was always some people that knew how to follow it. There was always some people who knew how to follow it. One of two things happened. Well, they definitely died and their knowledge went with them. But some people wouldn't reject it because they rejected it. They was rebellious. You will see they fell into these categories. Some people don't want guidance. Let me be. Don't enjoy no good. Don't enjoy good on me and try to forbid no evil. I'm Muslim. I believe. Leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, fix my problems. Sisters weave all the way down their back, and like I say, I be seeing these sisters, man. One day they might have hair like Holly Berry or like a little finger wave, and the next day they got weave all the way down here, just depending on the guy. And then when they have their hair out, they might tell the guy, if he in the natural hair, oh, I'm all natural. And then next week be with a dude and got weave all the way down here. Just being deceptive. And I'm talking about as a Muslim. They just do a lot of deceptive stuff, man. But they think because they in survival mode, this is about me. I'm going to manipulate my way into getting what I want. And I'll deal with Allah later. Brothers and sisters, man. And in reality, none of it is really working for them, man. It's all working against them, man. And like I say, these is things when you understand your book and you really read your book and you're not throwing it to the side, you'll see this stuff, man. And like I say, man, it's a lot of undiagnosed people. I'm going to be honest. I used to be one of them people, man, that thought these disorders, that's the man. Ain't no real bipolar. Ain't no real, that's just something in the man. There's no real ADD and ADHD and compulsive disorders. Ain't none of that real. They just want to medicate. They just want to kill the black man and woman and our kids. Which I'm not going to say that's not the truth. But when you become an adult and then you see people who have these disorders, you can see it in them. And you can see how they sway back and forth and their decision making is affected. And then especially if they Muslim and then Shaitan is playing on them. But they can't see it in themselves. They might need medicine and say, no, I ain't taking that. Or they end up having another health issue. Their chemicals is already imbalanced because they had some medication that was regulating them. Then they stopped taking it. Now something else going on with them. And then they take a whole nother medication. And now they like a person that's intoxicated. They don't even recognize themselves. And then if they have a moment of clarity, like if they have different disorders that's mental, then they might have a moment of clarity and recognize themselves and be like, man, I was tripping. Because you might really be bipolar. That's that other opposite. When you recognize this and that, that's because you really are bipolar. And you don't accept it. And now you on something else that got you like a high person and you out of character. Trying to find yourself, especially if you play with the deen, man. Especially if you don't know how to protect yourself. You right now you have marriages getting broken up before the people even get married in Islam. You can have two people on paper, and if they really be who they say they are, will have a beautiful marriage. They can't even make it from point A to point B because of circumstances, because Shaitan whispering in their head, and then people who they tell all their business to also whispering and manipulating the situations in their head, man. So protect yourself, man, because this trickery, this magic is out there. And it don't only destroy marriages, it destroys families, friendships, business between business partners, Muslim, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, Nation of Islam, whatever. Atheists, people who don't believe, even devil worshippers. If you're a human being, you can be affected by this stuff. But where does it start? Where does it start? It starts with people that be playing with the deen, man. It starts with people that be playing with the deen. Let me recap it and I'm done. Indeed, we sent down to you, O prophet, clear revelations. This stuff really easy to understand. It's really easy to accept. Right? But none will deny it except for the rebellious. This where it starts. This where it starts. These rebellious people, man. Why is it that every time these rebellious people make a covenant, enter into Islam, enter into this, a group of them still cast it aside? This is where it starts. This is where it starts. In fact, most of them don't truly believe. Right? Now, when a messenger from Allah has come to them confirming the scriptures, some of the people of the book cast the book of Allah behind their backs as if they didn't even know it. So once they threw that book away, they already rebellious. They already done accepted Islam, right? We're going to keep it at the Muslims. Why do some of these rebellious people, when they take their shahada and enter into this covenant with Allah, why do they still throw it aside? Why do they still think they can be a Muslim gangbanger? Why do they still think they could be a Muslim drug dealer? Why do they think they could still be a Muslim woman of the streets? Why do they still think that they can be a Muslim gold digger hustling men? Why do they still think that they can do that? Why do they not look and see where Allah saying, I'm going to put belt to that booty? And that's a promise. That's guaranteed. Oh, I'm going to throw that aside. Especially when you don't do the things that I allowed you to do, because I created humans and I know eventually at some point in time you can fall into these things. But respect this deen and make tawbah. Respect this deen and expiate those sins you fell into, and don't live your life like that. So what end up happening? Once they throw them books behind their back, they indeed start to follow the trickery, the foolishness that was promoted by the shayateens, by Shaitan and the shayateens during the reign of Solomon. You don't think they got these ways and stuff perfected by now? Go look at how long ago it was when Suleiman was on this earth. This is before Rasul Allah. Allah is informing the Rasul about what went on and when this happened during the time of Suleiman. So these are some ways that they have perfected. They didn't really accept the deen, or they accepted it and played with it. And then somebody came and reminded them of what's in their deen. Then they threw even more the book of Allah behind their back and started to follow this trickery. The type of trickery that caused rifts in marriages, friendships, brotherhood, sisterhood, siblings. They fall into the trickery until they even become the type of person. So look where it says, they're gonna come test you and see if they could get you to abandon your deen. You know what I'm saying? Ramadan coming, man. This out here is in the air. And you can see, all you have to do is look outside, man. And like I said, wallahi, I'm not trying to make fun of women. Because it's brothers like that. Sisters need to be careful too. But sisters already think all men ain't no good. Sisters already think eventually this man is going to cheat. It's already programmed into their head. They come into it with these things. But brothers, we're going to come with an easy thing because it's in our nature to take care of women. Even when it comes to our own children. When you have boys and a girl, you definitely treat your daughters with more care. You definitely have more of a watchful eye over them. Just naturally. Just like you have a mother and a father. You definitely have a more watchful eye and you're more protective of your mother, your sisters, your daughters, your grandmothers, and your aunties, as opposed to your fathers, your uncles, your brothers, and your male cousins. It's naturally instilled in us. And when you have these sisters in survival mode, they will play on you, Muslim or not. And I look at it, man, with women out here. Like I say, I'm not judging nobody, man. It's finna turn up. And everybody need to be careful, man. Everybody need to be careful. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.